The glass vase shattered against the tiled floor. Petals exploded in every direction, white, red, violet, crushed beneath polished shoes as Kang Ye-joon stepped forward, jaw tight, eyes burning with irritation. "I'm done asking," he said coldly. Across from him, Mara Elridge didn't flinch. She stood behind the counter of her small flower shop, Evelyn's garden, hands resting lightly on the wood, as if nothing had just been destroyed. Her gaze was steady, almost unnervingly calm. Behind Ye-joon, two suited men stood in silence, watchful, unmoving, the kind of presence that made it clear he wasn't just a businessman, but a man people didn't refuse lightly. Ye-joon gestured sharply around him. "Do you see this place? This entire block is being transformed into something extraordinary, a project that will change the city, and you're standing in the middle of it like a brick. No one can move." Mara's voice was soft. "Then build around it." That answer snapped something in him. "You don't get to say that," Ye-joon shot back. "Do you even understand what I've offered you? That money could set you up for life. You could open 10 shops better than this one." Mara glanced down at the broken flowers on the floor. "This one is enough." The silence that followed was suffocating. Ye-joon exhaled sharply, dragging a hand down his face. "You're being unreasonable." "No," she replied gently. "I'm being clear." His eyes hardened. "Everything has a price." Mara shook her head. "Not everything." For a moment they just stared at each other, two people from completely different worlds, refusing to bend. Then Ye-joon laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're going to regret this." Without warning, he swept his arm across a nearby display. More vases crashed, glass scattering like shards of ice. Still, Mara didn't shout. She didn't even move toward him. Instead, once he stepped back, breathing heavily, she quietly walked around the counter and knelt on the floor. Carefully, gently, she began picking up the broken stems. Ye-joon frowned. "Did you hear me?" "Yes," she said, not looking up. "And that's your response?" She lifted a crushed rose, brushing dirt from its petals with surprising tenderness. "Even broken things deserve care," she murmured. Something about that answer unsettled him more than anger ever could. Ye-joon scoffed, turning toward the door. "This isn't over." "It doesn't have to be," Mara said softly. But he was already gone. The bell above the shop door jingled sharply as it slammed shut behind him. Mara remained kneeling on the floor, gathering what was left of her flowers. By the time Ye-joon stepped into his car, his frustration hadn't faded. It simmered, built. The driver glanced at him in the rearview mirror but said nothing. "Hospital," Ye-joon muttered. The car pulled into traffic. For the first time that day, Ye-joon leaned back, closing his eyes briefly. But instead of silence, his mind replayed the scene. Her calm voice, her refusal, her lack of fear. It irritated him. It didn't make sense. People always folded eventually. They always did. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and quiet desperation. Ye-joon walked through the halls with purpose, his presence commanding attention even here. Nurses stepped aside, conversations lowered. But the moment he reached the private room, something in him shifted. He paused before opening the door, then stepped inside. Helena Voss looked smaller than he remembered. Machines hummed softly around her, steady beeps marking time in a way that felt far too fragile. Her eyes opened when she heard him. "There you are," she said weakly, but with a faint smile. Ye-joon's expression softened, just slightly. "You should be resting." "I've been resting for days," she replied. "It's terribly boring." He pulled a chair closer to her bed. "The doctors said they're still looking." "For a donor," she finished. He nodded once. Helena studied his face carefully. "You look tense." "Work," Ye-joon said shortly. Work will still be there tomorrow. So will problems. She gave a small, knowing smile. And what's today's problem? Ye-joon hesitated, then scoffed lightly. A flower shop. Helena raised an eyebrow. A flower shop. It's the last property holding up a major development, he explained. The owner refuses to sell, completely irrational. Helena's gaze softened. Maybe it matters to her. It's a business. Or maybe it's more than that. Ye-joon leaned back, exhaling. You sound like her. Then she must be very wise. He almost smiled, but didn't. You'd like her, Helena added. I doubt it. Helena's expression grew thoughtful. Ye-joon, when you build all these towers, do you ever think about what was there before? He frowned slightly. That's not relevant. It is to someone. He didn't respond. The steady beep of the monitor filled the silence. Finally, Ye-joon stood. You need to focus on getting better. Helena reached out, her hand weak but determined, resting over his. I will, she said softly. But promise me something. What? Don't become so focused on winning that you forget what matters. Ye-joon gently pulled his hand back. I don't lose, he said. But as he turned to leave, her words followed him out of the room. 2 days later, everything changed. Ye-joon was in the middle of a meeting when his phone buzzed repeatedly. He ignored it at first. Then it didn't stop. Annoyed, he picked it up. What is it? He snapped. Sir, his assistant's voice came through urgent. The hospital called. There's been an update. Ye-joon stood immediately. What kind of update? A donor has been found. The room around him seemed to go silent. When? He demanded. Last night. They're preparing for surgery. Ye-joon didn't wait another second. Cancel everything, he said, already heading for the door, and for the first time in a long while, he felt something close to hope. At the hospital, time moved differently, slower, heavier. Ye-joon paced the hallway outside the operating room, checking the clock every few seconds. Finally, after what felt like hours, a doctor approached. The procedure was successful, the doctor said. Relief hit him so suddenly he had to steady himself. She's stable? Yes. Ye-joon nodded, exhaling deeply. Who was the donor? He asked. The doctor hesitated. The donor requested to remain anonymous. Ye-joon frowned. I'll find out, he said quietly. Because that's what he always did. He found answers. No matter what it took. And this time would be no different. Kang Ye-joon didn't sleep that night. Even with the good news, something refused to settle inside him. His mother was alive, stable, breathing without machines doing all the work for her. That should have been enough, but it wasn't. Because someone had made that possible. Someone out there had quietly stepped in and changed everything, and then disappeared. Ye-joon stood by the hospital window, staring out at the city. Seoul stretched endlessly beneath him. Glass towers, neon lights, hidden alleys. All of it connected in ways most people would never understand. But he did, because parts of it belonged to him. Not on paper, not legally, but undeniably. His phone buzzed. Sir, one of his men said, voice low. We've started checking hospital records. Not enough, Ye-joon replied. Pull everything. Financial trails, private donors, black market registries if you have to. A pause. Yes, boss. He ended the call. For the first time in years, something wasn't within his reach. And he didn't like it. 3 days passed. Kang Ye-joon was recovering faster than expected. The room no longer felt like a waiting place for something tragic. But Ye-joon remained restless. He stood beside her bed as she sipped water slowly. You look like you're planning something dangerous, she said softly. I'm trying to find someone. And you can't? They don't want to be found. Ye-joon smiled faintly. Then maybe they didn't do it for recognition. Ye-joon's jaw tightened. People don't do things like that without reason. She studied him. Some people do. He didn't respond. After a moment, she asked, "Have you gone back to the flower shop?" Ye-joon frowned. "Why would I?" "Because it's still bothering you. It's business." Her eyes held his. "Is it?" He looked away first. Later that evening, the answer came. Ye-joon was in a private office when one of his most trusted men stepped in without knocking. That alone meant something. "We found her." Ye-joon didn't turn immediately. "Say it." There was a discrepancy in the donor records. Someone paid to keep it quiet, but not enough to hide it from us. Now he turned. "Who is it?" A brief pause, then, "Mara Elridge, owner of Evelyn's garden." Silence, heavy, unmoving. For a moment, Ye-joon didn't react. Then slowly, his expression changed. Not anger, not irritation. Something colder, something deeper. The same woman who stood in front of him, unafraid. The same woman whose shop he had torn apart. The same woman who told him not everything had a price. She had saved his mother and disappeared. A quiet tension filled the room. "Does she know who you are?" his man asked carefully. Ye-joon's eyes darkened slightly. "No," he said. A pause. "Make sure she stays safe." The man blinked, surprised. "Safe?" Ye-joon didn't repeat himself. The next morning, Ye-joon didn't go to the hospital. He didn't go to any of his usual meetings. Instead, he went back to Evelyn's garden. The bell rang softly as he stepped inside. Everything looked untouched, perfectly arranged, rebuilt, as if the chaos he created had never existed. Lydia stood near the window, trimming stems. She didn't look surprised. "I was wondering when you'd come back," she said calmly. Ye-joon took a step forward. "You knew?" She nodded slightly. "It wasn't hard to guess." "Why didn't you say anything?" She set the scissors down. "Because it wasn't about you." That hit harder than anything else. Ye-joon exhaled slowly. "You saved my mother." "Yes." And said nothing. "I didn't need to." Silence. For once, he didn't know what to do with it. "I was here," he said, "that day." "I remember." "I shouldn't have done that." "No," she said. "You shouldn't have." No anger, no bitterness, just truth. "I'll compensate you," he said quickly. "Repairs, expansion, protection." "No," he frowned. "No? I've already fixed it." "That's not the point." "It is to me." Ye-joon studied her carefully. "You don't understand what I'm offering." "I do." "And you're refusing anyway." "Yes." Another silence. Then, "Why?" he asked quietly. Lydia looked down briefly at the flowers. "When someone needs help, you help them. That's not how the world works." "Maybe that's the problem." The word stayed in the air, unshaken. For the first time, Ye-joon didn't argue. As he turned to leave, he paused. "I'm changing the project," he said. That got her attention. Her hands stilled. "What?" "The development," he said. "I'll adjust it." "Why?" He hesitated, then answered honestly. "Because I can't pretend this place doesn't matter." She studied him. "You'll lose money." "I've lost worse." She didn't respond immediately. "People don't change that easily," she said. Ye-joon gave a faint, almost unreadable smile. "Maybe I'm not people." Outside, one of his men stepped closer. "Boss, the investors won't like this." Ye-joon didn't look back. "They don't have to." The boardroom fell silent the moment Ye-joon finished speaking. "You want to?" "What?" one of the investors asked. "We're redesigning the layout," Ye-joon said calmly. Another man scoffed. "Because of a flower shop?" "It's not just a shop." "It's land," someone snapped. "Expensive land." Ye-joon leaned back slightly. "You're thinking like businessmen." "And you're not?" A pause. Then, "No." The tension shifted instantly. One of them leaned forward. "We've already approved everything. You can't just change it now." Ye-joon's gaze hardened slightly. "I can. And if we pull out?" A quiet beat. Then don't leave the building tonight." Silence. Cold. Heavy. Everyone understood. No one laughed. No one argued. Because suddenly, this wasn't a negotiation. Construction resumed, but differently. Plans changed, routes adjusted, security increased, and quietly, unnoticed by most, men were stationed around Evelyn's garden. Not to threaten, to protect. Weeks passed, then months. The structure rose, glass, steel, power, and at the center, Mara's shop remained, untouched, alive. Business changed. People came not just for flowers, but for the story, the contrast, something real, in the middle of something controlled. Ye-joon didn't visit often, but when he did, he didn't enter like before. No anger, no force, just presence. One afternoon, he stood outside, watching Mara through the glass. He didn't interrupt, didn't speak. For once, he simply observed. 6 months later, the grand opening, crowds, media, influence, everything Ye-joon built his world on. But attention kept shifting to the center, Evelyn's garden. Inside, Mara stood quietly as people filled the shop. It felt different, but not lost. Still hers, still alive. The bell rang. She looked up. Kang Ye-joon stood at the entrance, stronger now, alive. "You shouldn't be standing," Mara said softly. "And you shouldn't give parts of yourself away so easily," Ye-joon replied. A quiet understanding passed between them. "Thank you," Ye-joon said. Mara shook her head. "You don't have to." "I do." Then gently. "Years ago, someone helped me, a woman in a flower shop." Mara's breath stilled. "My grandmother," she said softly. Ye-joon nodded. Kindness finds its way back. Outside, Ye-joon watched. He didn't interrupt, didn't step in. For once, he wasn't the center, and he didn't need to be. Later that evening, his phone buzzed. "Press wants a statement." Ye-joon looked at the shop, at Mara, then replied, "Tell them the truth. Not everything is meant to be replaced." Inside, Mara glanced toward the window. Their eyes met. No words, just understanding. Ye-joon gave a small nod, then walked away. And for the first time in his life, he wasn't walking toward power. He was walking with purpose. Power never stays unchallenged, and Kang Ye-joon knew that better than anyone. What he didn't expect was that Mara would become the weakness others tried to exploit. It started small. A man lingering too long outside Evelyn's garden. Another asking too many questions. A black car parked across the street, engine running, windows tinted. Ye-joon noticed everything, because his world was built on noticing what others ignored. "Boss," one of his men said quietly, stepping into his office. "We've got movement." Ye-joon didn't look up from the report in his hand. "Who?" "They're not ours." That was enough. Ye-joon's expression shifted. "Say the name." A pause, then, "Han Jae-min." The air in the room turned heavy. Ye-joon slowly leaned back, eyes darkening. Han Jae-min wasn't reckless. He didn't probe without intention. If he was watching, it meant he had already connected the dots. "What does he know?" Ye-joon asked. "Not everything," the man replied, "but enough to start circling the girl." Mara. The name didn't leave Ye-joon's lips, but it settled deep, dangerously. "Expand the perimeter," Ye-joon said. "No visible presence. I don't want her alarmed." "Yes, boss." "And if they get closer?" A beat, then, "Break them." Across the city, Evelyn's garden remained untouched. Soft music, fresh petals, warm light spilling through glass. Mara stood behind the counter, tying a ribbon around a bouquet, but her hands paused, just slightly, because something felt off. The bell chimed. She looked up. Kang Ye-joon stood at the entrance, still, composed, but different. There was something sharper in his presence now, something watchful. "You're here early," Mara said calmly. "I was nearby." A lie. They both knew it. He stepped closer, eyes scanning the shop, doors, windows, blind spots. Mara noticed. "You're not looking at the flowers," she said. "I'm making sure you're safe." The words landed heavier than expected. She frowned slightly. "From what?" Ye-joon held her gaze. "From things you don't see." A pause. "Then maybe you should tell me," she said. "I can't. Or you won't." Silence. That was when it happened. The sound. A car door slamming outside. Too hard. Too deliberate. Ye-joon's head turned instantly. His instincts snapped into place. "Stay inside," he said sharply. Mara didn't move. "What's going on?" But he was already walking toward the door. Outside, 3 men. Wrong posture. Wrong energy. Not customers, not civilians. One of them smiled. "Boss Kang," he called casually. Ye-joon didn't respond, didn't step closer. Just stood there, still, controlled, dangerous. "You've been hard to reach," the man continued. "So we came to you, and brought trouble to my door," Ye-joon replied calmly. The man shrugged. "Business overlaps." Behind the glass, Mara watched, her chest tightened. "Because this wasn't normal." "You're getting careless," the man added, "letting civilians become attachments." A quiet beat, then, "Walk away," Ye-joon said. The man laughed. "You don't give orders here anymore." Wrong answer. Everything happened fast, too fast. Ye-joon moved first, precise, efficient. One strike, down. Second, disarmed. Third, gone. By the time it ended, the street was silent again, like nothing had happened. Ye-joon adjusted his sleeve, turned, and saw her. Mara stood just inside the door, eyes wide, not afraid, but no longer unaware. "You should go inside," he said quietly. "I'm already inside." Her voice was steady, but different. "Who are you?" she asked. The question lingered, heavy, unavoidable. Ye-joon didn't answer immediately, because for the first time, the truth mattered. "I'm someone," he said slowly, "who can't afford to lose you." Silence. Then, "That's not an answer," Mara said. "No," he agreed. "It's the only one I can give right now." And for the first time, she didn't push, because something told her the truth was far more dangerous than the question. If you've made it this far and haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to do so. Don't forget to drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. The warning came that night, not loud, not violent, but unmistakable. "They're escalating," his right-hand man said. "Han Jae-min isn't backing off." Ye-joon stood by the window, expression unreadable. "What does he want?" "You." A pause. "And her." That was enough. "Then we remove the variable," Ye-joon said. "Which one?" A beat, then, "Neither." The decision came quickly, but it wasn't impulsive. It was calculated, precise, and irreversible. The next day, Mara's world changed. She was closing the shop when Ye-joon walked in. No warning, no hesitation. "We need to talk," he said. "That doesn't sound optional." "It's not." She crossed her arms. "I don't like being kept in the dark." "I know." "Then start talking." A pause, then, "You're in danger." "I figured that part out." "They won't stop." "Because of you." "Yes." Silence, heavy, honest. Mara exhaled slowly. "Then fix it." "I am." "How?" That was when he said it. Clear, direct, unavoidable. "Marry me." The air left the room. Mara stared at him. "You're not serious." I am. That's your solution? It's the only one they'll respect. She shook her head, stepping back. No, absolutely not. They won't touch what's mine. I'm not yours. The words hit, but didn't shake him. You would be, he said quietly. Silence. You're asking me to give up my life, Mara said. I'm asking you to keep it. Her jaw tightened. This isn't protection. It's control. No, Ye-joon said. It's war. The truth of that settled between them. If I refuse, she asked. A long pause, then, they won't stop coming. Mara looked at him, really looked at him, at the man who destroyed her shop, protected it, changed for it, and now was asking for something impossible. This wouldn't be real, she said. No, just an arrangement. Yes. Another silence. And when it's over? Ye-joon didn't answer immediately, because that part wasn't clear even to him. You walk away, he finally said. Mara studied him, searching, measuring. Then, on one condition, Ye-joon's eyes narrowed slightly. Say it. You don't control me. A pause. You don't own me. Another. And this, she gestured between them, stays honest. Something shifted in his expression. Not power, not dominance, something quieter. Agreed. And just like that, the deal was sealed, not out of love, not out of trust, but necessity, and neither of them realized it would become something far more dangerous than either expected. Like this video, subscribe and comment where you're watching from. And tell me, would you accept that kind of marriage? Yes or no? The marriage happened fast, quiet, controlled, strategic. No media spectacle, no celebration, just signatures, witnesses, and tension thick enough to break. Mara stood beside Ye-joon, not as a victim, not as someone owned, but as someone who chose, even if the choice was impossible. But the world didn't see it that way. To them, she was untouchable now, and that changed everything. Security doubled, movements tracked, eyes everywhere. But inside, things were different. You don't have to stay here, Ye-joon told her one night. She looked around the penthouse, cold, minimal, controlled. Neither do you, she replied. A pause. This isn't your world, he said. And it's not yours either, she said quietly. That made him look at her. Really look. You built it, he said. I survived it, she replied. Silence. Days turned into weeks, and something began to shift. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but subtly. He noticed the way she brought life into empty spaces, flowers appearing where there were none, color in a world built on control. She noticed the way he watched without speaking, protected without asking, stayed close, even when he didn't have to. And somewhere between danger and distance, something changed. The line blurred, until the war came to their door. It was midnight, silent, too silent, then glass shattered. Mara woke instantly, heart racing. Ye-joon was already moving, gun in hand, eyes sharp, deadly. Stay behind me, he said. But they were already inside, and this time, they didn't come to warn. They came to take, and everything was about to change. If you felt that tension building, like, subscribe, and drop your comments. Do they survive this? Tell me what you think. The first shot rang out before the glass even finished shattering, sharp, deafening, final. Mara's breath caught as Ye-joon pulled her behind him, his body shielding hers instantly. Stay down, he ordered. But she was already moving, not away, closer. Men flooded the penthouse, fast, precise, trained. This wasn't intimidation. This was an execution. Ye-joon fired once, then again. Each movement controlled, efficient, like a man who had lived in violence long before this moment. 2 men dropped, a third lunged. Gone. Back exit, Ye-joon said, grabbing Mara's wrist. No, she said. He froze for half a second. No, he repeated. I'm not running, Mara said, voice steady despite the chaos. You don't have a choice. I do, she said, meeting his eyes, and I choose not to leave you. That almost broke his focus. A bullet tore through the wall behind them. Ye-joon pulled her down just in time. Stay with me, he said sharply. I am. Footsteps, closer. Then, silence, too sudden, too clean. Ye-joon's grip tightened slightly. Something's wrong. A slow clap echoed through the room, mocking, controlled. Well done, a voice said. Truly. From the shadows. He stepped out. Han Jae-min, unarmed, smiling. You've always been efficient, Han said, glancing at the bodies, but predictable. Ye-joon didn't lower his weapon. You shouldn't be here. And miss this? Han gestured lightly toward Mara. The famous weakness. Mara didn't move, didn't look away. You built an empire on control, Han continued, and lost it over a flower girl. Say what you came to say, Ye-joon said coldly. Han's smile faded slightly. Step down. Silence. Walk away from everything, he continued. Your territory, your power, your name. A beat. And she lives. Mara's breath stilled. No, Ye-joon said. Immediate, unshaken. Han tilted his head. You didn't even think about it. I did, Ye-joon replied. A pause. And I chose. The tension snapped. Han sighed. Then this ends here. He reached inside his jacket, but Ye-joon was faster. One shot. Han staggered, eyes widening. Another. He dropped. Silence. Real this time. The war ended in a single moment. Mara exhaled slowly, her body finally catching up to everything that had just happened. It's over? She asked quietly. Ye-joon didn't answer immediately. He looked around, at the destruction, at the bodies, at the life he had built, then at her. Yes, he said, and for the first time, it was true. Aftermath. The world shifted, quietly but permanently. Han Jae-min's fall sent ripples through the underground. Power structures collapsed, territories dissolved, enemies disappeared, and Kang Ye-joon walked away. Not all at once, not recklessly, but deliberately. He dismantled what needed dismantling, transferred what couldn't be destroyed, closed doors that should have never been opened, because for the first time, he had something worth choosing over power. 1 month later, inside Evelyn's garden, everything was calm, alive, whole. Mara adjusted a bouquet near the window, fingers brushing softly over the petals. She felt it before she saw him, that quiet presence, that stillness that no longer felt dangerous, just familiar. You're rearranging something that already looks perfect, Ye-joon said. She didn't turn immediately. Maybe I like making sure it stays that way. A pause. Or maybe, he said quietly, stepping closer, you don't believe things like this last. That made her look at him. Really look. And you do, she asked. Ye-joon held her gaze. For the first time. I want to. Silence settled between them, but it wasn't empty. It was full of everything they hadn't said, everything they had survived. Mara exhaled slowly. This started as a deal, she said, a way to survive your world. I know. And now, that question lingered, soft, dangerous in a completely different way. Ye-joon stepped closer, close enough now that the space between them felt intentional. It stopped being a deal, he said quietly. Mara's breath caught, just slightly. When? She asked. He didn't hesitate this time. When you chose to stay, he said. When you stood behind me that night instead of running. When you looked at me and didn't see a monster. His voice lowered, raw, honest in a way he had never been before. And somewhere along the way, A pause. You became the only place that ever felt real. That broke through her calm. Mara's eyes softened, something vulnerable rising to the surface. You don't say things like that lightly, she said. I don't say things I don't mean. Another silence, but this one trembled. You said this would end, Mara whispered. That we'd walk away. Ye-joon shook his head slightly. I was wrong. A step closer. I don't want to walk away. Her voice dropped. Then what do you want? And this time, there was no hesitation, no calculation, no control. You, he said. The word landed between them. Heavy, certain, irrevocable. Mara searched his face, for doubt, for distance, for anything that would make this easier to deny. There was none. You're dangerous, she said softly. I know. You come with a world that nearly destroyed everything. I walked away from it. For me? She asked. A quiet breath. For us. That was it. That was the moment. The last wall broke. Mara stepped forward, closing the distance herself this time. You don't get halfway through this, she said quietly. No control, no deals, no walking away when it gets hard. I won't. You don't get to choose me only when it's convenient. I choose you, he said, voice steady, when it's hard, when it's messy, when it costs me everything. A beat. I choose you, always. Her breath caught. And this time, she didn't hold back. Then stop talking, Mara whispered. That was all the permission he needed. Ye-joon closed the distance. His hand lifted, slow, deliberate, resting gently against her cheek like something fragile, something real. And then, he kissed her. Not rushed, not desperate. Certain. All the tension, all the restraint, all the moments they held back. Finally breaking into something undeniable. Mara didn't hesitate, didn't pull away. She leaned into him, choosing him, not out of necessity, not out of survival, but love. When they finally parted, their foreheads rested together, breath uneven, hearts no longer guarded. This isn't a deal, she murmured. No, he said softly. This is real. And for the first time, neither of them questioned it. Outside, the world kept moving, unaware, unchanged, but inside Evelyn's garden, everything had shifted, not because of power, not because of war, but because two people from completely different worlds choose each other. And this time, it wasn't survival, it was love. If you stayed till the end, you're real. Like this video, subscribe, and comment your best part. And drop a love emoji if this story touched you.